Hi guys, it's Coach Rick Storlie again, and today I'm going to be sharing some tips on how to get in front of more qualified leads. Again, my name is Rick Storlie, and I help home builders and remodelers reach their sales goals. I've developed a 5-step sales system that generates a steady stream of new leads. It creates value through education. It employs cutting-edge technology to identify the leads most likely to buy from you, and it's got my 20 plus years of sales and management experience built right in. One of the things I like to do is follow other industries, and specifically I've looked a lot at the Amazon versus Best Buy competition out there. And over the past few years, Amazon has really created an online marketplace, and they've eroded Best Buy's market share. So today we're going to look at online strategies for builders and how you can take some market share from your competitors as well. There's 8 different strategies to generate leads, 6 offline and 2 online. So in previous videos, I reviewed all the offline strategies that you see on the screen. Today, we're going to talk about online strategies, specifically the components of your virtual model home or showroom. You see, that's where I think you really need to look at your online presence. I call it a virtual marketplace like what Amazon has done. A lot of times it's hard to conceptualize what that looks like. So all of you probably can conceptualize what a model home looks like, or maybe what a showroom looks like if you're a remodeler. So think of your virtual marketplace as the same strategy, because 90% and more of today's new home and remodeling needs, they start their research online. So your online lead generation efforts should be a top priority. It's second only to your client referral program, because the client referral program, those leads are your top converting leads. Websites web leads, are right after that. So it's important that you understand the life cycles of your customers if they start in your virtual marketplace, or if they start in your virtual model home or showroom. So let's take a closer look at that. Now let me give you a couple definitions here. A lead. A lead is simply a one-way conversation where someone has expressed interest in your company via what we call a permission-based relationship, or it's an opt-in relationship. So they filled out some form on your website giving you their information to contact them, and in other words, giving you permission to follow up. But it's a one-way conversation. You haven't talked to them yet. So a prospect is a two-way conversation. So you've taken that lead, you've gotten back in touch with them, and you have gone through your needs analysis, you're qualifying, and you've determined that they are a viable opportunity. In other words, they're a viable prospect, and now you're going to move to this step number 2 here, which is converting that prospect to a buyer. So a buyer has engaged your services. Maybe you call a buyer if they've done a plan deposit. Most of the time we call a buyer when they've executed a purchase agreement, and now we're going to fulfill that agreement in the buyer stage. And then at the conclusion, when the project's completed, they're going to move over to an owner. So now they own your services. And then last but certainly not least is where you work with your owners, people that have already purchased your services, to become referral partners. And then of course the cycle starts all over again. So ideally we're looking for referral leads as a number 1 lead. So it doesn't matter if the lead came online, if it came from a sign, if it came from print advertising, any of the strategies. The idea is to take that owner and convert them into future referral leads. So then you can be focusing on the lead source that's going to convert the highest. All right, so let's take a closer look now at your virtual marketplace. There's 6 different components here, a part of your virtual marketplace. And search engine marketing we're not going to talk about today. I'm going to come back in a separate video and talk about that. Today I'm going to be focusing on your blog, your website, social media, looking how lead generation ties into that. And then I'm going to introduce something to you called web marketing automation. And then finally we'll look at how all this works together to help you make and fulfill the sale. All right, so beginning with your blog. A blogging platform, a lot of the platforms in the past were on what's called WordPress. That is a open source software. It's free. Anyone can get it. So they started on WordPress. And now WordPresses are really the content management system for your blog and your website. So you don't need to have a separate blog and a website. Now they can be all in one. So the blog has really evolved into one of your best tools to drive more traffic to your site. So again, if you think of this as your virtual showroom or your virtual model home, we want to drive traffic to that. And we know that a certain percentage of those people are going to leave their contact information with us. They're going to become a lead. So blog is a great way to do that. It lets you talk about new things happening in your business. It actually expands the size of your virtual marketplace because a blog is just another web page that gets indexed by Google and someone can find it when they're searching for you. All right, so number 2, let's look at your website, specifically the website design. And in the future video, I'm going to go into real specifics on how to set up your design and what content you need to have on your website. But the site design has really been simplified. And that's due to this, WordPress, or this content management system, which is open source. Think of it as like your Android phone or your iPhone, where you can put apps on it. And you have this huge community of developers generating these apps. Well, in WordPress, it's called a plugin or a widget. And so you can go out and find these plugins. A lot of them are free, and you can put them into your website. So you don't need to spend $5, $6, $10, $20,000 on your website anymore. A lot of times you can get it done for less than $5,000 because everything has been streamlined. Now, mobile browsing is important here to think about as well when it comes to your site design, because a lot of times 20% or maybe more of the visitors on your website are on some sort of a mobile device. So they're on a phone, or perhaps they're on some sort of a tablet or iPad. The younger the demographic of your target market, the higher that percentage is going to be. So make sure that your website also has the ability to be mobile enabled if it recognizes a mobile browser. And with WordPress, it's simply a plugin and a configuration. Now, social media, specifically we're talking about Facebook, but also what's important is Houzz and Pinterest. I would say the 4 most important aspects of your virtual marketplace would be Facebook, Houzz, Pinterest, and YouTube. Not necessarily in that order, but those are the 4 you should be focusing on. But this is it's a great engagement tool, because it can now be used to capture leads. And we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get to web marketing automation, but you can actually build apps inside Facebook that tie into your web marketing automation. So now, instead of your social media strategy being something that's hanging, sort of off the side, bolted on to your website strategy or your online strategy, now it can encompass it and become part of it. These apps really allow seamless integration with your website. Now, lead generation. It really continues to grow. What we're seeing now is the top builders are generating 45%. I've seen some of my clients that are getting 80 to 90% of all their leads are coming online. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a good thing. It's just where it's going. And so you need to make sure that you have a virtual marketplace, or again, virtual showroom or model home that is attractive to your target market. I mean, nobody wants to walk into a model home where there's weeds growing in the yard and there's garbage out front and there's burnt out light bulbs and it's dirty and not clean. Your website and your virtual marketplace is the same thing. It's got to be updated, it's got to be clean, it's got to have beautiful pictures, it's got to have the content that people are looking for, and then they're going to engage you. Now, web marketing automation. A lot of you have maybe heard the term CRM, or customer relationship management programs. These are being replaced. They're being replaced by what's called a fully integrated web marketing automation software. So web marketing automation is something that actually ties into your website, your blog, your social media. It ties into your customer relationship management, and then it can produce the analytic reports that you really need to run your business. And finally, making and fulfilling the sale. The website does not stop as part of your lead generation. It's going to go all the way through the full life cycle. So we start with a lead, we move to a prospect, then we become a buyer, then we become an owner, then we become a referral partner. So everything ties in back to your virtual marketplace, specifically your website, your blog, and your social media. Hey, that's it for today. Thanks so much for looking at the components of your online showroom or virtual model home. We're going to come back in the next video and I'm going to get really specific on your website, talking about the content you need to have on your website, how you should lay it out. We'll get into social media strategies, look at some lead generation strategies, and also get into web marketing automation and showing you how everything ties together. Happy selling.